Hello everyone and welcome to the demo number 3, the developer, which is focused on developer's journey. We are going to see the first step in a creation of a NetApp from the point of view of a developer. This is from the creation, develop, and verification of a NetApp. What we are going to show in this demo are these bullet points, which are how to get access to the EVOLVED-5G GitHub, also the steps to install the SDK, how to use the SDK in order to create a NetApp, and the interaction between the SDK libraries, NEF, and the NetApp, to finally see how to verify our NetApp. These same bullets here are represented in the image on the right in a workflow. But first, I would like to explain a bit the workspace environment and the context where developers are going to work. So, as it can be seen from the image, the workspace environment is connected to the CI/CD services and also interacts with the 5G exposure services, refers to NEF and CAPIV. But the workspace, it is not tightly integrated with the validation or the certification environment, neither with the platforms, because the NetApps during the creation are using the SDK locally, the development is also locally, and the verification phase, it will be tested in OpenShift, which is a virtualized environment in Telefonica premises, and not in the platforms. Therefore, we in the workspace are providing a 5G environment in the hands of every developer for free. It means that locally, the developer can install or will install the NEF emulator, enabling the 5G core APIs, the SDK to create a NetApp, as well as using the SDK libraries to interact with NEF and the 5G APIs implemented. So in such a way, the developer is having the full backend 5G premises locally in their hands. That's the added value that we are providing by making use of the workspace in EVOLVED-5G. So summarizing, the workspace is like a playground for developers where they can test as many times as they want locally the functionalities of their NetApps. Before going to the demo, due to time restrictions, we are going to show only a NetApp with the SDK libraries already implemented. So I would like to present one more thing related to the SDK libraries that are this next slide. The SDK libraries provide two APIs that are the same that are implemented in NEF. One is the location subscriber to monitor the position of the device and create subscription, and the other one is the QoS awareness to know which QoS from the ones defined in NEF the device is using. With both, we can receive also notification about how to use it. It's just a matter of import Python module into the developer's code, and then we are also provided some examples that can be found in the SDK CLI repository in this URL here. So now let me show how a developer can join the EVOLVED-5G, install the SDK, interact with NEF using the libraries, and finally verify the NetApp. So the first thing that we need to do is go into the marketplace of EVOLVED-5G, click on create your own NetApp button, and then we are in the instructions or the documentation for using the SDK. So if we go to the useful information, we can see that we do have the GitHub, the EVOLVED-5G GitHub repository, where we can see all the implementations and tools related to EVOLVED-5G, and as well as an overview repository saying or explaining what the EVOLVED-5G is about. So the first thing that someone needs to do is to send an email to this address with his or her GitHub username, and some person from the EVOLVED-5G project will add these usernames to the EVOLVED-5G GitHub organization, and in this way we are granting access to these persons that they want to access to our organization. Once they have access, the next steps are some prerequisites that they need to fulfill. For example, they need to create a key for a secure connection between their local computer and the GitHub. Okay, it is very well explained in the instructions. I'm not going to reproduce it, as well as a personal access token that is a kind of password. Okay, that you need to create, copy, and store in a file, and this will enable the interaction or the communication between the GitHub API and your local computer as well. So once we have done all these steps, we can move to the installation. For the installation, we do have to fulfill some requirements, just install some packages, okay? And then we do have two ways to install: from the package manager, which is the quickest and the easiest one, and the one that we are going to show in this demo, and then from sources, that it means to clone the repository and compile everything from scratch. Sorry. So let's go to install the Evolve-5G software. So as it says, it has been successfully installed, and it's saying also the version. Okay, and the next step now is how to use it. I mean, how we can use, or which are the options that we can do with this Evolve-5G software. So the options are generate, okay, in order to create the NetApp. Here in the instructions is very well explained, but I'm going to reproduce it and to show it to you from the terminal. So if we do Evolve-5G generate, we will see that the first thing is just saying yes, it's just a message. Then you need to add your GitHub email. You need to give a name for your repository, your username in GitHub, and also a token. This token is the previous personal access token that I have mentioned, so I just copy and paste it. Then we do have to provide a name for the NetApp, the same as for the repository for this example, and then a vertical app name, again the same, and then which service your NetApp is providing. I'm just putting as an example that we are providing a web server, the port that your NetApp is using, and also the port that your NetApp is targeting to expose those services. So if everything goes as planned, we will receive a 201 code, which means that it is a success. And you have here the path where your repository is created locally, and also where your repository is created in GitHub. Okay, so if we list the files here, we can see that we do have this folder here, which is our repository, and if we list it, we can see some files and folder structure. So if we go also to GitHub, we can refresh this page, and we can see here the example P1. Okay, so this repository that we just created, we do have two branches. One is the master one, that is the one by default, okay, and the other one is the Evolve-5G, which is the one that we are going to use to verify the NetApp, and it must have the latest updates in order to execute this verification test. Then we do have three folders. Okay, the first two are related to the CI/CD configuration with some Terraform files on it, and the second one is the source folder where we will store or host all the files related to the NetApp. Okay, so now that we have seen how we can create it, let's move to the interaction with the SDK libraries. To do so, I just have a demo NetApp created. Again, we do have two branches. In the Evolve-5G one, we have the latest updates. Okay, we do have a Docker Compose that it will deploy three containers, one for the NetApp itself, another one for the Nef callbacks, and another one for the database. So as we can see in the source folder, we have the files related to the NetApp. Okay, so if we go into the folder where do we have the demo NetApp, we can start. So first of all, we do have already locally deployed the NEF emulator. Okay, we do have here NEF. So if we execute now this script, we will see that it will deploy all the three containers that I have mentioned previously. So we can see it here. Okay, these three ones here. So now it's just a matter of going inside the NetApp container, okay, and execute the file related to the NetApp. So the first thing is the NEF token that has been already explained in Work Package for demo. And then the next one is the asking if we want to test the monitoring API related to have the communication between NEF and the NetApp by making use of the SDK libraries. If we say yes, we will see some information related to the UI that has been already subscribed to this API. The same for the QoS. Okay, we can see the information related to the user, and the most important value here is this QoS reference. Okay, that is number 7. This number 7 represents a non-warranty bit rate for live streaming. These different options has been already also explained during Work Package for demo, but mainly we do have different values for non-warranty and warranty bit rate, and the number 7 it refers to the live streaming for a non-warranty bit rate. Okay, so now that we have had a look to the libraries and the interaction, we can come back to the instructions. Okay, we can go to the SDK libraries. Okay, this SDK library is the same that I have already explained, and some examples that I have mentioned previously during the presentation. And then we can move to the pipelines that are the verification tests that we are using to check if the EVOLVE-5G if the NetApp works or not. So here are some of the commands. So let me execute the first one. So we are so here what we are doing here is we are running a pipeline. Okay, we have 3 different pipelines, one for build, another one for deploy, and another one for destroy. So we can select one of those 3, and then the repository that we want to test it. Okay, in our case, I just put the same as the one that I have already showed to you, which is the demo NetApp. And it is very important that in our repository we do have the EVOLVE-5G branch that I have mentioned. Otherwise, this pipeline will fail, because this pipeline will rely on grabbing the code from the EVOLVE-5G branch of the repositories. Okay, so then we can see the output that is saying your pipeline ID is 5533, which means that this is the ID of the pipeline that we just execute to check if our NetApp can be containerized and can be, let's say, built in a virtualized environment. As I have mentioned, this virtualized environment that we are using is OpenShift and is in the Telefonica premises, but everything, I mean, all the rest, the NEF emulator container that you have here is deployed locally. The NetApp you can deploy locally, and also the interaction with the libraries is locally, but by importing the library from the SDK. So now we do need to check if this pipeline has been working, has been finalized or not. So for that, we will use the check pipeline command, okay, by making use of --ID, which is now we just need to put these numbers, okay. if the pipeline has not been, or if the NetApp has not yet been built, we will see this message. The time about how long or how short is this execution. It will depend on how big is your NetApp. So in our case, we do have 3 different containers to deploy or to build in that case. So it could take so much time that in some other examples where the NetApp is lighter. So before I execute it again, please allow me to come back to the instructions. So as you can see, we have the 3 different modes that we have to verify the NetApp, the build, deploy, and destroy, and also the check pipeline, which is the command that I just executed. Okay, so coming back to the terminal, we should have already the pipeline working. Okay, so as we can see here, we receive a success message. And now let me already use or execute the deploy pipeline. Okay, so I'm launching now the deploy pipeline. In the meanwhile, I can explain that this build pipeline is giving to the developer a log, which is quite long, to see what are the steps that the pipeline has performed. So in case we received failed, we can check in this log at which point our NetApp has failed in the building or getting containerized. So as you can see, it's quite long. So it's just a log. And now let's check the deploy pipeline. Okay, so it's not yet ready. We might need to wait 1 more minute. Okay, but what I would like to say now is that I have showed you the journey of a developer, okay, from the creation or using the SDK to create an NetApp, to include the SDK libraries that we are providing in each NetApp, and also the verification tests that we can execute. As I mentioned previously, everything is running locally. I mean, the SDK is installed locally. The libraries can be also are in the SDK, and also these verification tests are not part of the platforms. So we have it in a virtualized environment. So it's taking longer than I expected, but it's after that we have seen all these steps for the development and the verification phase, which is the first step in the life cycle of the NetApp, and also for the developer. So we just need to wait maybe 1 more minute, okay, to see if this deploy pipeline has been executed, and if the deploy has been executed, we then can move to the destroy one. The destroy one is just to remove our NetApp from the CI/CD framework. Okay, so it's just a matter of remove our NetApp from Telefonica premises. Then again, this can be checked as many times as we want, because this is something locally, so we can check as many times as we want, because we are not making use of any platform or anything. So you can see that we do have already the success message for the deploy, and now we do have the destroy one. And again, the destroy one should be quickest But again, the deploy one also have this log, okay, that you can scroll and check if in case we did receive a failure message here. So we can check at which point it has failed. So now the ID changed to 35. So again, the destroy, as I mentioned, is quickest. So that would be all. I mean, we have a look at all the stages, and that's all the demo. So thank you very much for your attention.